Hello, I'm Haley Wurst with Klamath Film, and you just watched Spooky Girls Before the Fall Preludes, a short film starring a charming cast of puppets from the Northern Shorts category of this year's Klamath Independent Film Festival. Joining us now are some of the crew from this film. Thank you for joining us. If you could all introduce yourselves and tell the audience a little bit about what you did for the film.
Yeah. I'm Jason, director, creator, writer, and designer.
I'm Sarah, lead puppeteer, also co-creator and co-writer, along with Jason.
Gabriel. I developed the puppets, the mechanics in them, and the little head mechs and stuff like that.
Awesome. So good to meet you all. And we're going to start with kind of a basic question here. What was the inspiration behind this film?
Well, the Spooky Girls started, Sarah and I were just talking about a project to film puppets, because we've done a lot of live shows with shadows and other styles. So we were coming up with a concept, and we were throwing around ideas, and Sarah's like, well, it has to be girls. And I was like, well, I have this vampire thing I've been writing on my own, and there's these characters that are witches that kind of curse people and do stuff, and then she was like, yes, so witches. But then she's
and
like,
romance.
yes, it has to be a love story. But that's not apparent in what you just saw.
Wait for it. It's coming.
Yeah, it's coming.
So there is more to it.
Yes.
This was a little introduction to the characters and their lives and some of the things they care about.
So where are you going to take this? Like, is it going to be, are you aiming for like a short web series or something along those lines?
We're kind of open right now. We have some episodes written, so we're kind of trying to find some funding and make it happen.
So the puppets, obviously, they're incredible. Can you tell me a little bit about maybe the design process, working with them, how they were made, how they were used?
Yeah, I'll jump into a little bit of the design.
Yeah.
That's all right, Jason.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, totally. Go for it.
When Jason and Sarah approached me, it was many years ago. They wanted something that was going to be live action and had the expressive abilities of what we usually work with in stop motion. So some faces that had certain functions, but it had to fit within a compact size, and it had to be live action. So we, together with Sarah, we developed the whole mechanism. Sarah was there making sure that it was going to be workable with the puppeteers who would eventually be handling them. It was a development process. I think we spent 6 months of back and forth. We went through 4 iterations, solid iterations, till we got to what we came to, and it's a really unique design. Sarah had a vision in the beginning of an upside down marionette, basically, and I just kind of put all the parts together for her. So I think it worked out really well. And then behind that, there was many other craftspeople who did the beautiful finishing work, the hair, the costumes. The paint was primarily Jason, but it was a big team effort. So yeah. And I'll let Sarah talk about the performance of them a little bit.
Oh, the performance. Okay. The cool thing with these puppets is they're kind of this mix of like a tie string puppet and a Richard Teschner style puppet. He was Austrian, and then blended with stop motion. So everything is happening in real time. Holding onto this kind of controller below the puppet, you're able to pull these different parts to make eyes move and the mouth move. And so kind of the best thing is that it's being a practical puppet, is that you can get a lot of character and expression sort of in real time. Oh, I know.
Yeah, they're really expressive. it blew me away. And I'm a huge fan
Yeah.
of puppets and dolls and miniatures and all that stuff. So
Yeah. The thing about that I think divides puppetry and stop motion is that puppetry can look fake but feel really real, and then a lot of stop motion can look so real and smooth but doesn't always have that same sort of uncanny valley feeling that an actual full dimensional sculptural moving in front of you in real time does. So we play on that eerie edge a bit by choosing this style, which is helpful obviously for the concept of the story.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think some of the design elements that were chosen that you guys settled on, like the sort of realistic qualities of the faces and the way that they were sculpted, lend them to having such good poses, good silhouettes. Like they just photograph really beautifully. And the challenge for the fabrication side was getting those to function, and they're pretty small. And making that all happen live was definitely a challenge. So room for improvement. I think we've got more plans. There's more versions on the way, but yeah.
So did you do, it being live, was the voice acting done as the puppets were being shot, or was that added later, like voiced over later?
We added it later because some of the characters that
you recorded it first.
Yeah, we recorded it
puppeteered on top of your dialogue.
Sorry, we recorded it first. Sorry. And then the reason we did that, some of the characters that are portrayed are based on real people. So we were able to get those real people to play the characters, and they gave things that were completely unique to them, and you would never be able to get from having someone else imitate that. Or like Kendra's character is one of Sarah and I's good friends, Amber, and she's just
added
like
some
that.
Authenticity. Oh yeah, she's just like that.
Yeah, and she gave there was so much extra that she put into it. And the Tynan was our friend Mickey, who he's actually deeply into the witchcraft and everything, and so he was able to fill out a lot of the story and the background for the characters and their experience in that realm.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any memorable moments from the production? Any fun stories you'd like to share?
I have my favorite. It doesn't necessarily have to do with the puppets, but we filmed this in our friend Clay's this studio building he had. So the room was still being renovated, but he allowed us to go in, and it was pretty chilly out. So Gabe brought this really great machine that had like a fire in a box. So we heated the production by literally closing the space, turning on this fire unit, and it would become like hot as Hades. And then we just all, pull the sweaters off and keep going. So I love things like, it was really a make it work space, but there was so much energy that the crew coming in provided that it was pretty perfect. I wouldn't change it, but that's my favorite.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, that building was something else. I think that we had one extension cord coming into the room that ran everything, and so we could only run certain lights at certain times. That was really funny. And that heater was a propane heater. It was like a jet engine that would basically blast into the room for warming up barns.
Yeah.
And technically we were in a barn from turn of the century, but a little room inside of it. Yeah.
Gabe's family farm is not far away, so he always brings really fun gadgets that we would never think of.
That's true.
But where did you film?
In Portland, Oregon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does it have a name? Does the space have a name?
Clay Connolly's space. It was in North Portland, off like Columbia Boulevard, right? It's right near the highway. So when you sort of stepped outside, you were well aware that there was a whole other world happening. But inside the space, we literally were absorbed in the world of the Spooky Girls. Just everything about the whole space lent itself to sort of the mood of the piece, which was extra nice.
So what are some challenges or obstacles you faced while filming this, either with the puppets or just in general production?
Good. Let's see. The time was our biggest challenge. We had two puppeteers fly in, Kaylee Clemens and Frankie Cordero, and as the clock was ticking and they were needing to get to the airport, we were still with under sets with puppets raised, just going and going. And I think at that point we had stayed up for most of the days that they were there. And so, our bodies were half asleep while the puppets were still going, and all the passion and drive was the only thing accelerating us to finish the final shot. And then we put them in the car and dropped them at PDX.
Yeah, there wasn't much sleep.
No, it was kind of a force of will, because a lot of the crew that we worked with were not able to commit full time, like extra people that came in, like our friend, he's a gaffer out at Leica, and he helped light it, and we were hoping he'd be able to shoot it, but he wasn't, he just didn't have the time. So basically I ended up kind of a little bit out of my wheelhouse. I ended up shooting everything myself, and his lighting was so magical that it was great. But just every step of the way, we had at one night we had to finish a shot, and we had no puppeteers left after Sarah's friends had left. So we basically just called everyone we knew, and one of Gabe's friends came in. He's a local artist in town, and he knows nothing about puppets, and doesn't care about that, but he actually came through and just like held a hand for the entire night, and it was really actually fun, and it helped us a lot.
We're really selling you on wanting to make your own production.
I'm already in this, so I'm ready to go.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we had, it was amazing. Ted set up the lights, and then when he left, you just begged everybody not to bump into them because we were never going to be able to redo it. But a lot of the people coming to work on the production would do things like bring a giant pot of soup, or just so everybody could eat. It's kind of amazing when you start something, you realize the community that you actually have around you. And by also working with other artists, even in other mediums or disciplines, they know what it is to push yourself to the limit, and so they provide whatever their superpower is to the production, and I think that's what really got us through.
Yeah. And sometimes things surprise you, like Gabe's actually an incredible puppeteer, we learned, because we had no one else there, and he had to step in, and some of his stuff's my favorite stuff, actually. Sarah always kills it, but
I'm number one. Gabe's gonna be number two.
No, you know what I mean. You're like,
that's
the best ever.
Number two to you is a high honor.
Yeah.
Oh, funny.
Yeah, all of those challenges, everything was a challenge, I would say, but in a really good way. And it was seeing, just like Sarah said, so many people come in and find solutions to those challenges, and seeing people who were our friends and not connected with the production overall, like they weren't there from the beginning, just like coming in due to the excitement around it and the environment, and staying all night and just putting in the time and smiling and being positive the whole way through. And that was amazing. Like if it had just been a few people there the whole time, we probably would have killed each other. But it was that influx of folks who would just show up and bring a new vibe, new energy. That was really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
So what else, what other projects have you all worked on? What's sort of your background with filmmaking?
My background with filmmaking, essentially independent filmmaking, started by meeting Jason. Sort of my love of puppetry and his love of film was one way for us to sort of marry our biggest passions together, because we're partners in love and in art. So everything really comes together when we take our two favorite forms for us. And then besides that, I was on a PBS children's show called Seymour's Playhouse. and I played Penny Puppy. And so a blend of children's and adult puppetry forms are sort of where what I do, and I mostly tour, but this is my first big film project, essentially.
Yeah, we have a group together called Nightshade that's all shadow puppets, and we use handheld lights, which when we started it wasn't very common. So we can move through space and do live editing, and the shows are pretty epic and crazy and different than maybe what most people think of shadow puppets. So that's kind of where we work out a lot of ideas and get things done. But besides that, I met Gabe on Paranorman out at Leica, and Sarah worked on that too. And then Sarah left to do her touring and everything, which was really cool. And she's the Joan of Arc of the costume shop. I'll just say that. And then, yeah, Gabe and I worked together at Leica for years. And then, I don't know, I don't know, that's it.
Yeah,
where did you start, Gabe? Because Jason's Coraline, Paranormans, Boxtrolls, and Kubo and the Two Strings. And then on to doing some painting for Pinocchio, Guillermo del Toro's film, and Wendell and Wild, Key and Peele's film, and then Gabe's at Wendell and Wild. So a long history of puppet film making, in a sense, as a painter and a shop manager and a costumer.
Yeah, and some of when meeting Jason and Sarah out there at Leica was pretty great. I mean, we were friends for years before any of this evolved, and right about the time both Jason and I moved on, part of the plan from leaving that industry job was to dedicate a bunch of time to Spooky Girls, and we did. Basically saved up ourselves and had our spaces, and we worked on this, and we focused on it. And it was my full-time job for months to get these puppets made. And Jason and Sarah were writing that whole time and setting up all the other aspects of it. So we put a lot into it through, I guess it was overall about 9 or 10 months from when we left, and Jason and I left at about the same time, and committed to it. I did some other odd jobs to make money, but we were, yeah.
And we had an edit version that happened because we had this thing where we wanted it to be done for Halloween, and then we posted those versions on. We stayed up day after day editing and working on a Kickstarter just to have it on Halloween. And Sarah and I were just completely thrashed and just sitting on the couch, like passing out, sleeping for a couple hours, getting back up, writing, working. And yeah, so this edit you saw was a new edit, like a kind of not revision. It's what it always was meant to be, but we were just too exhausted to give it the proper credit. And one thing we learned from the shadows is, and I take this from stand-up comedy, is it's never going to be perfect the first time, so you just keep working your set. So I'm always flexible, and I just never see something as it has to be done, and we get that from our live theater, which is cool.
Awesome. So what do you want the audience to take away from this project? Like, what's the message, the vibe, the
pleasant nightmares? I'm just kidding. Let's see. It would certainly be nice if the audience, which I imagine has in experienced puppet films before, but can really see the fact that they can be for teenagers and adults. They can have this fine art, sophisticated aesthetic. They can really communicate a solid story that's relatable to us. It's not all slapstick. It's not crass. It's not a throwaway humor. We actually want these characters to emote and the audience to feel along with them. So hopefully that has expanded some of the knowledge of that and some of what they have seen. Yeah.
And in that, like, the style of it is very straightforward. Like, that was on purpose. Basically, I wanted to make it where, like, almost like a traditional puppet film, you know, like, I don't know, Sifel and Ollie back in the day, where they're just puppets on a stage, but take that concept and make the puppets live, you know, like you were saying, their emotions and all that. I wanted that to be a very direct experience. Like I wanted to show you that, oh, they can emote without having to do camera tricks or like cut away and do all that stuff. Like they actually have all that within them, you know, as a potential.
Not too complicated or anything.
Yeah, I think about it too much.
Yeah, no, that's, yeah, we've made these complex machines in a sense. Like, just why not? Why not try it? I want to try something we don't see that we find is missing. So,
yeah.
All right, so I think I'm out of questions. Do you have any final thoughts you want to share? Anything you want to tell the audience? Anything?
I think. Do you have anything you want to tell the audience?
Yeah.
Gabe?
Just no. Just yeah. There'll be more one way or another, and there's more story, and there's more to come. So yeah, it'll appear sometime, but
More is more.
we have a lot to work out.
Don't say that, Jason. I don't need to hear that.
Oh,
Allie, can I
So
ask you
stay tuned with more.
what's your favorite puppet film? You're super into puppet films. Do you have a fave? Just
Is it really basic of me to say Coraline?
No, mine's A Nightmare Before Christmas.
I love that film so much. And Nightmare Before Christmas too. But
I mean,
if you can like tell that.
Yeah. No, I love that. I love that. Yeah. That's
it's kind of funny. I mean, not to be like, "Urgh," but you know, working on that, like it was like it's been very interesting because when you work on something, it, you know, it's not as mysterious or anything. But a lot of the young people that have come into the stop motion studios since we started, you know, grew up on that film. So it's been kind of funny because, you know, everyone's like, we love that movie. And, you know, you're like, oh, crazy. All right. Cool.
kind of like inspired their path that, you know, led them to puppetry and film, like in stop motion. And so
it's really
I feel like puppetry and stop motion has a lot of child-friendly horror that I feel like introduces a lot of kids to that genre.
Oh
yeah. See, I like you call it child-friendly horror because it's true. Because sometimes the things like start a little more on edge and then they reel them back in, realizing that parents usually come with a mixture of siblings, and you can't don't want to scare them so they can't go to sleep. But I think with the Spooky Girls, our aim is finding an audience that's older than what some of these stop motion films are putting out. Because you could choose to put someone little in front of it, but we're really aimed at that teenager and up, because there's just not a lot that I see provided for them that really is their lives. And so that's kind of why we have these teen witches.
I think you nailed it though, because watching it, I was just like, that's me, that's my friend, this is all of us.
See, I know you kind of want to hang out with them. Like, it's the same way with me. It's like, I want to be friends with all of you. I'm going to go after school and do what you're doing. It's like, oh, wait a minute. Like, I can only do that through this box. Yeah. See, I love that. Cool. I had to ask. As always, everybody has a fave.
Everybody does, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
All right, so thank you so much. And Spooky Girls will be available to watch online all weekend, and it will also play at the Ross Raglan Theater on Sunday, September 20th at 4 p.m. at the 8th Annual Klamath Independent Film Festival.